And of course, I took the focus off myself, right? Just as
So
we go.
what
All right,
just-
we're live in the Metal Lab. It is Monday before the ROC in Windsor. The last episode you'll see on the Married with Clicks channel for this week, as I've got a lot of testing to do and not a lot of time in which to do it. So last show for this week, guys, until next week when we're back on regular schedules, of course on Monday when we're talking about how we did at the Windsor Super Qualifier. This week we have with us Mike.
Hey.
And we have Jay. Okay, so we're now going to have to assume for Jay's lag. Now, this week it's not much to talk about. We've had our chance to dabble with a little bit of Trinity War. This is going to be our week to either take back or back up what we said about characters that we talked about last week before we had a chance to open everything. As well, we're going to talk about how excited we are for the Super Qualifier and some of the ideas we've tried and tested and thrown away, some ideas we might be considering, and figures that we've looked at with Trinity War going into the No Tactics format tournament. So let's start with what we played this week with regards to Trinity War. Mike, we talked about figures last week. Do you have any takebacks or any big ups to your thoughts from last week?
I played in 2 sealeds last week, and somebody pulled. Well, it was the first one was a 400, and somebody pulled both Batman and Martian Manhunter. So pretty much knew who was winning before it started, because that's just monstrous in a sealed. I've had a chance to look at the Outsider a little bit, the Prime, after Jay said it was epic, and I was like, oh, I'm going to have another look at that. But aside from that, I'm really liking, I guess, Johnny Quick.
Excellent. Jay, different kind of approach to yourself. You mentioned you didn't get a chance to play much, but you did get a little bit of the spotlight, to say the least, on HC Realms. Want to talk about that quickly?
I didn't play, but I wrote the primers. So read those, enjoy them, criticize me, like everybody's been doing.
Yeah.
No, not really. Like, a lot of people are seeing people are saying good things, but then people are not reading what I wrote and then are criticizing, and I'm like, I want to answer you, but you didn't read what I wrote. I don't have any reason to answer you. But yeah.
Welcome to the years of the TLDR, right?
Yeah.
So myself, I got a chance to go to Black Knight Games in Hamilton. I know I've talked about them on my regular tournament announcements every week. And it's actually a very beautiful venue. I haven't had a chance to play. Hamilton's a little bit of a distance from me. But when I got there, I actually mistook the layout for a restaurant, because having so many years that I've had in the restaurant industry. Instantly, my mind went, this place is a restaurant. And it is actually a converted restaurant, which means it's got a lot of floor space. And it's wonderful. It was a wonderful place to get a chance to play. Not quite the turnout we had for some of the other ROCs. But I did manage to go 2-1. We didn't cut to a Final Four. It wasn't really necessary. There was actually enough people to do a round robin over a couple rounds. And Rory, who won at the Comic Warehouse event, actually won in this one. He beat me in a very tight game that it was in Rory's favor for most of the game because of a big blunder I made with positioning Gamora. If you haven't had a chance to read the blog yet, I actually copied Dan's team from the Comic Warehouse event. His team had the Gamora from Guardians of the Galaxy, Gates from Slosh. It had Engineer, Despotellis, and what was the other figure? It's on the tip of my tongue. Harley Quinn at 65 points. Thank you, Jake, by the way. And in my game with Rory, his team, it was a bunch of moving parts, but 2 of the most dangerous moving parts in my eyes were the combination of Shatterstar with the Wolverine and the X-Men Magneto, the 65-point one. And part of his strategy was to pull his Magneto into my starting area and start dropping bombs. So of course, I immediately looked at that and said, I have to be ready for that to happen. So Engineer, Despotellis, and Harley Quinn kind of stayed back, and I tried to work with a little forward momentum with Gamora and Gates. Unfortunately, a 1 square placement all 100% my fault on this one, put me in a bad position. And what I was going to do was charge Brother Voodoo with my Gamora, using the precision strike that she has to try to get some damage early on him so that he can't run away too quickly. That backfired on me big time as I placed terribly, and then he commenced to mind control and beat me up with my own figures.
Oh dear.
So then I was now of course on tilt myself, which means I'm behind, and I tried to move forward. He did take the risk of putting Magneto and Shatterstar all the way in my starting area, not noticing how my action tokens worked out. I had poker chips, and I also had the poker chip object tokens, so he wasn't really watching the colors of my poker chips, and he missed that I had only one action on Engineer, so I pulled everybody back to base him. So he was also using Black Talon on his team to mind control Shatterstar up. Long story short, I managed to chase him back down to his starting area, and it all came down to I pulled in Engineer with Despotellis, and Harley Quinn started poisoning the crap out of his team. It didn't kill anybody. Harley Quinn went nuts because Engineer died, and then I started slowly picking apart his team with the now powerful Harley Quinn, and time got called just before I got my last chance to attack anything. Like, it was his turn, and he was lining up. Time got called, and that was it. Score was actually 205 to hit for him, and 149 for myself. So I was actually one attack away from actually pulling that out of my butt if things would have went in my favor on that last turn. Overall, I had a lot of fun at the event. It was great. A lot of great guys. Nice venue. It was a little far for myself to get to. I had to take a GO train, then a GO bus, then a local commuter transit, and then local buses to get there. But yeah, it was great meeting everybody. And good times as always.
How long did that all take?
What's that?
How long did all that travel take?
About an hour and a half. No,
Oh, wow.
actually, it's about the same amount of time I take to get to Comic Warehouse every week because I'm stuck with buses to get to the Comic Warehouse, local buses, and they're not that quick. They have to stop for other people too, apparently, and pick them up. But as far as Trinity War is concerned, I after the tournament was over, myself and Rory grabbed 2 packs each, cracked them open, and played some games. Rory played, and when we pulled out the packs, we got to chuckling about some things that had got pulled. So Rory, laughing it up, played the Aquaman, a Mira, a Sea King, and Lust, which was you kind of got a love triangle thing going, and I couldn't resist. I pulled the Prime Outsider, who looks like a pimp himself, and better to go with a big old pimp than Catwoman and Katana.
Damn bitches.
Yeah, and while getting a chance to play that game, initially when I looked at Outsider, I thought he was good, not great, didn't stand out to me very well, but once you actually start to use him, he's one of those few characters that really synergizes well with the team ability they gave him. His ability to charge, and then when based, automatically break away and sidestep away, forces your opponent to have to roll that Hyper Time team ability when trying to base you. So they actually have a 1 in 3 chance of not being able to base you in a counterattack, which is really fantastic. And the fact that he's hard to outwit, he ignores shape change, makes him really good. So
succeeds automatically when he breaks away using sidestep.
Yeah, absolutely. And his team didn't have any plasticity, so that didn't really come into effect. But I think there's actually a ruling on there's wording on plasticity where you can't automatically break away from them anymore or something. I might be reading into that too much. I have to double check.
You can't auto break away. You can ignore characters, but you can't auto break away.
That's right. Yeah, so that would work against
whatever.
You'll have to roll for plasticity. But yeah, so that was about that. Overall, I'm a big fan of Trinity War. It looks like it's got a lot of potential in the competitive game and in the casual game. I think there was one character I looked at and said, "Really, seriously," and that was Signal Man. Because every time I pull him, like I don't want you, and I don't know how to use you, and is somebody playing a joke on me? But I guess that brings us now to talking about what we're working on for this coming weekend. I understand nobody wants to talk about the team. That accept that. But we do have a grinder tournament this Wednesday coming up. Mike? We'll start with you. Have you been thinking about anything neat for that tournament?
I've been really trying to use Wrath, figure out how to use Wrath. Well, I've pulled exceptionally well, which is kind of normal, I guess. I roll really, really poorly, but I pull really, really well. That sounds dirty as hell. But using Wrath because of the whole gives Battle Fury, to anybody who makes an attack anywhere. They don't have to necessarily be next to you or anything. It's not that they have to land an attack; they just have to make an attack. Period. And then, if they're within 5 of him, he gets +1 to his damage for every single person who has Battle Fury. So it could be quite a few people, depending. But then to make him a soak tank, I thought about Rory's team with Doctor Strange and Despotellis to accompany it, to actually beef it up a little bit defense-wise, give it at least 20 defense. Because he's great. He's just I think that his numbers defensively are not necessarily that great. I came up with a team that I sent you a few days ago, and I made a mistake with the idea of can use, because I thought you could ignore it if you can use something. I guess that's just my my inexperience talking, but I kind of wrecked that team, which would have been pretty good, I think. What about you, Jay?
Net decking is fun.
The
problem is I can't find the exact team I want to net deck, because I wanted to, if I go to that ROC grinder, I would want to play the team with a bajillion figures that Jake played at the Majestics event. Like Rainbow Raider, Gates, Harley, Despotellis, like a bajillion figures, but I can't remember exactly how it went, so I want to play that for funsies because I like Harley Quinn.
What about the team you were telling me about the other day, the super secret Hush Hush team? Why wouldn't you play that?
I can't make it work. I mean, I may as well talk about it because I'm not going to play it.
Remember the adjustments that we made the other day to it? Adding in the lab tech and taking out... I don't remember exactly what
that was... The basic idea was the Arkham Origins Bane, who, if we could probably screen share him, because he's pretty unknown, it would be ideal.
I will pull it up for you.
Yeah, just one sec. I'll get it.
Yeah. I don't think people know him, as far as I know.
Yeah, I've seen him show up in a top 8 a little while back. Might have been 2 or 3 ROCs ago. So.
Huh. Well, I've been thinking about him for a while because he's awesome, and I managed to. Yeah, I was gonna do. We have to show the powers also because that's kind of important. Yeah, so I was gonna do him, Gates, Blind Owl, Harley, and something else, and then I couldn't make it work just because I didn't feel it was mobile enough. Like if there was move and attack on the opposing team, I couldn't catch it. But it is Highfather proof and turtle proof, but I don't feel that it's mobile enough.
Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and Bill also to ignore all the things.
Always Bill.
Yeah, but I just didn't really work, and I could substitute Starlab's tech, but I'm afraid of him only ignoring one square blocking terrain, whereas the wall is common, so... I want to make him work, but he just doesn't work, especially... I also don't like only having one attacker.
Yeah, it's always been a trouble with my teams, too. Whenever I'm building a team myself, if I only see one attacker, I get nervous, because I kind of want a backup plan.
Well, that's your
This
target.
has always happened.
Yeah.
It's a 120-point tentpole.
Which?
Then it's a 120-point tentpole.
Yeah.
I mean, but it also can... I can just break the pact, so I'm not as scared of it for that reason. And then I have, 3 perplexes, plus range combat expert, plus prob. So I'm not as afraid for that reason, but one attacker is not a good idea.
Yeah, I actually ran into a similar problem myself with a team I was building where I feel like I built it out of anger because I had poor performance in the Whitby event. But I ended up with a team with 3 or 2 trenches, a Bizarro, Bat Cycle, and I think I was just drunk with anger, and I just built this gigantic swarm out of just frustration.
Frustration swarm.
And I looked at it and said, there are 7 characters who can do damage and all die if somebody sneezes on them. So
Yeah.
And since Jordan has decided to join us today, we're just talking about what we're possibly going to play on Wednesday and what you've been looking at into the ROC this weekend.
Everything I look at, I'm like, do I play this? It looks good. And then I think of the matches I played, and my team's just what I feel very solid, and it was what I already played at the Super Qualifier before. It was Banshee, Conquestion, Bat Cycle, Despotellis, and Weasel. And I can handle every problem with that team. I've been playing it for a little bit now, so I know exactly how to handle, I'd say 90% of the teams I'm going to be playing against just by looking at them, so I really don't have a problem playing that for the time being. That's kind of my fallback until tactics come back. I came up with a good one, and I'm sticking with it.
That's always good. And since you mentioned it, the idea of tactics coming back into the game,
that's not a thing. It doesn't exist.
The resource, guys.
I guess it's what figures have you been looking at once tactics comes back and you can just feel all the want and desire to build things with the tactics. Before we do that, actually, I should mention that I'm kind of working on a monstrosity involving a Freddie Freedman and a Johnny Quick for Wednesday that may or may not work. I kind of like the idea of Johnny Quick to avoid plasticity with a hypersonicer. So if I have Freddie Freeman there and I see a character with plasticity, well, he'll go get Johnny Quick first, and then Freddie Freeman comes and does what he does. I haven't figured out what gets kitted into that team after the fact, but I mean it's subtle, right? You don't really see it coming, right? No? All right.
Sorry, that yawn was not directed at you.
It totally was, you piece of...
No, just the team.
So with tactics coming back, Mike, what have you been looking at in Trinity War with regards to tactics, not just the non-tactics format?
KC Flash with sniper rifle.
Yeah, playing the KC Flash, the sniper rifle, the red power battery, and the alpha primitive. See? Yeah.
Gonna ruin everything with that. That's it. That's my whole. That's it forever.
Oh, I've got a bunch of teams.
A lot of stuff, man. Yeah, go on.
Jordan.
If Wax does not get kicked out, I really want to run Hope, Butcher, X-23, Red Lantern Power Battery.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so Hope, at the end of it, she copies the X-23 duo to be able to get the Blades, Flurry, Charge, min 3 damage, and then she takes the power from Butcher that gives her +2 on her Blades roll. Well, you're looking at min 5 damage for Flurry Blades, so Hope is doing min 10 damage with a possible 14? 16? Yeah, 16, because 6 + 2, so she can get 8. So she can get 16 damage on a 75-point figure. Giant Reach. Don't forget Giant Reach. And if it does get kicked out, I would really like to run 2 green arrows, a bit working out on the support and how I'd run it, but I'd like a green power battery in that mix.
There was one comment on Jay's recent review, or his primer, that talked about putting the axe construct on Swath, and I thought that was great. It was a really good idea.
No.
Yes.
What you really want to do is put the axe on Despotellis, and then your opponent is going to either kill themselves or you. I'm not telling you how you get Despotellis to have an attack while you make an attack.
All right. So, myself, I've actually been really looking forward to Greed and Gluttony. I don't know what it is about the sins when it comes down to it, but nomming and taking seems to be my thing.
Yeah.
And
Sounded like prison.
I'm looking at it, I'm saying, on this, with those 2 figures, I can still put a resource on my team, like within the state of the rules. I can still put a resource on my team, and I can bring on the 2 relics that they bring in, and Greed's additional relic. So I've been trying to figure out the combination of things that I can pull off with that. And initially, like, it was, oh, maybe I'll use a Star Sapphire with Greed, and then the Star Sapphire ring already gives, or I already have Mystic, so I don't really need that per se. So I'm trying to kind of fit in as much value out of everything I put on there, and then I still have to find space on the team for other characters to give the Greed and Gluttony relics to, in order to maximize value on the team, because you can't actually give a relic brought in by the Sins to a character with the Trinity or the 7 Deadly Sins keyword.
Yes.
So there might have to be some smaller characters. You know, Abensur comes to mind, of course. At 50 points, he's a nice high-end attacker who can back up the team that I'm already planning on bringing. And then it's just a matter of finding that extra little bit to put in there and still fit in a orange battery.
Which is so sad, because if you had, if the Book of Skulls wasn't getting pushed back into Golden this year, you'd be able to just throw a hammer on that team and play like a Colleen Wing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And be like,
yeah. Of course, ideally, I kind of want to put a sniper rifle on Gluttony to just kind of mitigate the fact that he has such a low movement, and all he has to do is hit with an attack. It doesn't necessarily have to be a close combat attack to start disrupting my opponent's resource use, right? And the orange battery comes to mind because the orange battery's power stealing ability doesn't stipulate that it has to be a standard power. So if I'm playing in the mirror match against another Gluttony or the mirror match against a Greed, I can actually hard shut down their special powers and, you know, take advantage of that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I mean, that's kind of what's been going on. And of course, shut down Mystics. I mean, who doesn't want to shut down Mystics?
This is why you play Jenny Sparks.
Yeah.
I really want to. I've been looking at Nick Necro. I've recently acquired him.
He sucks.
But I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to make him work. I really like it. It's kind of just like take unavoidable, take Mystics, and then, oh, you're going to take 3 more, or spin that back.
Yeah.
Hit me, DJ!
I think you had it wrong before. It's you do the 3 unavoidable, or you heal and remove the relic.
No, you're going to take 1 automatically for damaging him, and then it's his stop click.
Yeah, I'm
unavoidable
afraid because his stop click can be ignored, and Pulse Wave exists, and Pulse Wave exists, and there's also this power called Pulse Wave, and I'm like, I can't. It's way too risky.
You know, I always found that to be an interesting argument. It's like everybody talks about a power, and then a power, and then a power, and then some guy always comes up there and says, Pulse Wave. That's the easy way out.
Pulse Wave is so easy to get now.
Yes, but as much as you say that, it doesn't just come up every game. Like, it's,
No.
I'd have to say
But
more
like,
than 50%, maybe 60% of your games, you're not going to actually face it.
That's like most of what he does, and then it'll just get ignored.
There's a lot of tools as well that exist to stop that from. I mean, well, I say a lot of tools, and it's an orange battery. I've already been talking about it. So as long as you're packing the answer yourself, you've got the answer to the answer, right?
Answer to the answer to the answer of the answer.
I heard you got answers. So. But now I do kind of want to get into this because a lot of our strategies, there's a prime figure we all talk about. Like, not like a specific one, but we talk about a prime in one of the builds or anything like that. And primes of now almost just about every modern set, with the exception of like DC-10, M10, the smaller sets ahead of time, they all have all the big sets in the current modern and meta game have primes. Are you guys running into problems where sometimes you see a prime that fits in your team and then you want to put another prime in your team and then all of a sudden you're like, oh crap, I can only put one of these in my team?
More casually.
More casually?
Yeah, I feel like there are very few that are like hardcore competitive, and they do different things at different times. It depends on what you actually need, and I feel like very few times you're like, these 2 primes are what I need. In casual, very often you like, I want to play scientist. Oh wait, there's 4 good ones.
Yeah, I do notice. especially when you're looking at generic keywords. Mike, yourself?
Yeah, I don't know. I was just casually building some teams in my head yesterday, and I was like, oh, I know, like, because I'm trying to work with the outsider prime, and I thought of using the professor prime for particular situations. Not that I think that the professor's necessarily all that good most of the time. But yeah, just for line of fire and everything else, and then I built this whole team. And I'm like, that's my team. And then I noticed that they're both primes. So I was just like, oh my god, I'm retarded, or I'm just silly. Yeah.
I mean, for myself, I've noticed the fact that by nature of what they are, primes are always better than their cost. In most cases, primes are better than their cost, or they add a really big trick to your team. And it's just sometimes I find I want to put an Abin Sur in every team, but then I want to put like a Freddie Freeman in my team, and then I want to put a I don't know, prime off the top of my head, the Hobgoblin. He's a flipping great one. That pulse wave that adds action tokens is huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's always been one of those problems I've been running into with regards to picking a prime. It's getting really hard for me because a lot of them are getting really good.
There's a lot of action token control in this set in particular, I've noticed. I mean, bringing back the CSA and the, what was it, Greed, when he does the mind control and they end up next to him, they get 2 action tokens. I think Sloth has an action token result as well, or effect as well. Just noticed overall there is a lot of action token control.
No.
And then you go Wrath. I mean, giving someone Battle Fury. Oh no, it is Sloth because the Earthbound neutralized, right?
Right.
And then, obviously, yeah, they can take damage pretty easily.
All right. Before I move on to the next thing, because your action token thing reminded me of something. Jay, any thoughts on it? Your microphone's off. It says.
Yeah.
Okay, we can hear you. We're good.
Beep. Hi.
Thoughts on the prime situation?
You basically described my life.
Excellent.
Because science is the best of all of the everything.
Mm-hmm.
War Machine Prime or Captain Marvel Prime. I don't know which one to choose.
Now, when Mike mentioned the action token situation, that immediately brought to mind the Rock of Eternity, which is so far of the 2 resources, the only one I've had a chance to play. Anybody want to know my thoughts?
We already know your thoughts.
All right, melt it. I have never seen a resource that that is so. This is I think I put it the other way recently. It's like it is the first casual resource. This is the least competitive resource I've ever seen. The Sin Dial barely moves with regards. It's all based on your opponent taking action tokens, which you can force if you decide to put a bunch of extra incapacitate on your team. But generally, an item like the Rock of Eternity you want to put on a bigger figure on your team. And then once you've done all the work of collecting the sins on the board and putting them on from off the board, which is a bloody nightmare to manage, if you maximize the amount that are on the board and try to get as many as you can as fast as you can. But then after you've done all that, you've got those sins out, and they add a +6 to 2d6 that you roll. You still need to roll a 9 in order to get the power of Shazam, to get all the extra bonuses that gets. And then moving the Sin Dial itself is a little tricky because you're relying on your opponent taking action tokens. And if you even move it at a fast enough rate, you find yourself in situations where you need a specific sin that you've got on the dial at the time that sin's not showing up. And you find yourself pushing it back. I found it back on click 1 by the end of the game. And it was the last turn when I was using it that the Shazam power actually happened. And this is in a big multiplayer game where I had a 600-point team with 2 other players of the 600-point team and another player on the board with an 1,800-point team. The action tokens were just not getting on that thing fast enough, or the actions weren't happening fast enough for the Sin Dial to move. So, honestly, if you see the Rock Eternity from across the table from you, it's not that hyper-competitive. They're not trying as hard as you think they are. Just a public
until you get your ass kicked by one, and then it's like...
It sounds like you're playing Heroclix, and then you're playing Settlers of Catan at the same time.
Absolutely. And I've only read the rules so far for Pandora's Box, And it's the one that actually has those combat modifiers that are a little bit more effective in the competitive game.
Still doesn't seem very good though.
And that's kind of where I want to go with it. It moves when you put out the sins, but there's no acceleration to that. And I think I don't remember off the top of my head, and I might be wrong, but I think you have to take a power action to take a sin anyway. So you got to do that. And then even once
the way they worded it was pretty sound.
Yeah, and then once you've moved it to the end, you have to have at least 3 characters on the board that have sins. So if somebody's killed one of your characters in the 7 turns it takes to get out there, and you have only 3 characters on your team, well then you're boned. Right? Once you have it all on your team, you have 3 characters out there, and each and every single one of them has 1 action token. Then you can move it to the ultimate point on the dial. Now, what makes it better in my eyes before putting it on the board over the Rock of Eternity is you automatically get the sins that get put out, right? Where the Rock of Eternity, you're collecting the sins, but you only get them when they show up on the sin dial. Where Pandora's Box, you're kind of handing them out. I mean, Amber's going to cover this in a rules episode, so I don't want to get too much in detail about it. But
and it's pretty.
It's definitely. Hold on a second. Keep it up there, Mike. I need to focus you. There we go. It's definitely the prettier of the 2 as well, because if you look at the Eternity with the things on it, it looks sad.
It looks like you're bowling.
Yeah, and I mean, look, don't get me wrong. I had a riot. It was a fun resource, but I am never bringing that into a major tournament and planning on it ever working. No, not a chance. Any of you guys had a chance to try any of the resources yet?
No, not a chance yet. I've been too focused on the no tactics stuff because we've got, this Wednesday and then this weekend.
Yeah.
After that, I'm gonna go back.
Yeah. I also have that chance to get the one fun game in a week with my buddies. So I don't know if everybody gets that opportunity. I definitely suggested, whether you're a competitive player or not, have one fun game at least a week, just in your own house, not in a tournament setting. It helps gives you a chance to laugh about the game as well, unless the players start taking it too seriously, in which case kind of find a way to curb that.
Right.
Kill your friends.
Remember, you're all friends at the kitchen table, as I like to put it.
Are you sure?
Unless you're me and Amber, in which case we're mortal enemies. Right, hon? Yeah, see?
So much love.
She just used some naughty language on me. I don't know if it's not caught in the microphone. All right, so any other thoughts, guys? Closing thoughts? I think we've covered about everything there is for this week. I know we're all very busy building our teams and getting ready for Windsor this weekend and Wizards Cash this Wednesday.
I need more Battle Fury.
More Battle Fury?
You know Shriek exists. I mean,
Battle Fury. Tell me, Wizards. Where is the cheap Battle Fury?
You know Shriek exists. I know everybody already forgot about her, but she's actually pretty good.
Is she good?
She's actually pretty good.
I don't have her. Did you let her to me?
If not, I have an extra. Let me know.
I have an extra, but I already made it not tournament legal. But I do have a normal one. But I'm sure Jordan has one. I think.
Well, I believe
Mine's missing a hand. She's jazz hand.
Volunteered there, so that's cool, Jason.
Yeah, it's all good. We're all in the same car, so.
All right, bro.
Yeah.
Her with a sniper rifle, bro.
I'm waiting to think about her with sniper.
Jordan had a chance, or did join us a little late, and he didn't get a chance to talk about our first topic. So, we have a little bit of time. Jordan, Trinity War sealed. Do you have to take anything back, or double pump, or back up anything you said about any of the figures we talked about last week?
I personally missed my sealed, but looking at the set once again, there was a figure. Hold on, you got to give me 1 second. That I saw that actually stood out, and after I did my picks was like, damn, should have definitely picked that figure.
I'm not gonna lie, we didn't have much time to look at that list. I think we all started looking at it that morning, and we went for the instant. Like, the thing about sealed is you go for that instant draw of, okay, what's definitely good with numbers and points and stats in relation to each other, and then if they heal themselves, they're a little better in sealed. It's one of those things about sealed play in a lot of games where what's traditionally good and constructed might not fare so well in sealed, whereas in sealed play, you'll see a complete reversion for some characters where they'll be absolute crap and constructed, but you put them on the board for sealed, and your opponent will probably more than likely not have the direct answer for it. Except for Trinity War, which had an answer for just about everything in its own set. Did you find the figure?
And that was almost exactly like what I kind of felt, except for, actually, you say there's an answer for every figure directly, but not this figure. There is no character in the set that ignores both super senses and shape change, and that's Martian Manhunter. Now, a figure I would never play. He would not work for me. I feel like would beat me 90% of the times in sealed. Like, he's one of those figures that ends up being really good. And after taking a couple, like, I've spoken about him with a couple of people and playing him, looked at him, spent a bit more time actually, like, thinking about how he should be played at 300 points. I feel like in constructed, over 300 points, 100%, no questions asked. But in sealed, that does not sound bad, especially his high values. I mean, there are very few characters in the set that aren't, I guess, as hard as him to find in the set. So if you pull one, there's, what, 2 other super rares that can actually hit his defense without only having to roll a 7 twice because of his prob.
Yeah.
I mean, he's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, I personally did almost the same thing with regards to Martian Manhunters. In sealed, if you look at those numbers that are on that dial, that kind of makes the game for him because there's not a lot of, like, 13, 14 attacks, and it's pretty tricky in order to get that on the board with this set. I mean, if you're lucky enough to pull a John Constantine on your team and throw him on, then you have that Perplex to work with and the double prop. But that's also another super rare you have to pull. And you have to pull a team that can still get to that Martian Manhunter and have reasonable chances on both those rolls. So, yeah, I do agree that Martian Manhunter is one that you look at initially and say 300 points, no reducers, but 2 chances to make you not be able to hit him is pretty amazing, unless you're packing Precision Strike, in which case you only get the 1.
Hit pulls with prob is awesome.
Yes, absolutely.
Doom and King forever, bro. They still stand up today. Want to play them?
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt exactly the same way about the Manhunter. I initially even put 2 in my program, but then I was like, wait. So, Flight ignores characters, so he ignores literally everything ever. Traded stealth, so it can't be outwitted, it can't be got rid of anyway. Plus traded shape change. Not a lot of Battle Fury, that's already awesome. And then phasing, in case he somehow needs to ignore blocking on top of everything else. Then his values, then his other trait, then he only has a 300, where he takes away an action from your opponent's pool, so he gets less at action. And then his values and hypersonic awesome stats and prob. So you need to not have him do his 2 rollouts and then hit his 7 twice. So it's like, yeah, pretty legit for 300 sealed.
Yeah. All right, so we did find that extra one that a lot of us have to take backsies on.
This is why we don't do no backsies.
Yeah.
Backsies, but no backsies.
I'll always say I'm allowed to be wrong the first time. That's why I decided that we talked this week about what we might have been wrong about or what we have found ourselves corrected about with regards to sealed play. Or what we might have overlooked with regards to what is and isn't good. I don't.
Everybody, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm gonna say just remember when everybody overlooked Rainbow Raider. I was like, shh. It's okay. Yeah, I was playing him in sealed, and then my opponent had like Etrigan. Yeah, Etrigan who has charge. Another character who has charge. Another character who has charge. And I'm like, I'm gonna pick that green. And then they're gonna, and it literally came down to the point where he needed to he charged my figure. Then I was like, wait, you didn't have enough movement because of Rainbow Raider. That didn't happen. Go back. So he actually saved my ass. He's awesome. Don't doubt the Rainbow Raid.
Charge figures already have low swing as it is, so when you Rainbow Raid a charger, it just kind of really hurts on top of that.
Yeah, going back to Flash Sealed, I had to play 6 characters on my team out of the 10 that, of course, I pulled between my 2 packs. Rainbow Raider was definitely one of them, and I think Fiddler was the guy. Yeah, Fiddler. And they kind of worked really well together, and there were a couple teams that actually had a lot of matching colors that Rainbow Raider was able to harass. I mean, I didn't by any means in any way, shape, or form pull out a win out of that tournament. Don't get me wrong. I got my butt stomped.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff in that set.
Yeah, and I have to say that as far as the games were concerned, my teams without Rainbow Raider would have been stepped on a lot faster. So there is that, and I when I saw him show up in a lot of tournaments, I did have to take back some things. Like at first I didn't get it, and then you start to look at how many colors start to repeat themselves amongst a lot of the popular characters. There's gonna be a lot of shape change out there, a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Super senses, and a lot of red powers that actually will get you that -1. Yeah, that's about it. I mean, is there's anything else we want to talk about, guys? Specifically?
I'm not a big fan of Trinity War in Constructed. I don't think they added too much, but maybe I'm just crazy.
I'm looking at a couple figures that I really want to test the potential of, and then should they not do as well as I feel they're going to do, or as well as I would hope they were going to do. I mean, I'll go back to ideas I had beforehand. There's a couple figures that stand out to me that are definitely going to make some noise or show up a lot. The 25-point Atomica in my books is probably going to be a regular at tournaments. The fact that she's 25 points tiny, able to be carried just about everywhere, and has a CSA team ability, so that's whatever number of clicks she has with prob, and she's got plasticity to semi-protect that character if she's being carried by from hypersonic attacks. So I see her making a fair bit. Like this could be one of those sets where a lot of the characters look noisy and have a bark bigger than their bite, and then we'll see like a lot of smaller elements show up in tournaments.
Oh, I feel like that's definitely a cause. I feel like smaller elements to the set, like Atomica, and some non-flashy whatever, blah blah blah, in this set will make it out. Really don't think anything else in this set's gonna make a big splash. I think it's very minimal. When I look at almost all the super rares, I can almost say I don't think I'll see any of those super rares. The only one I think I'll see is Tim Hunter and possibly Nick Necro when tactics come back, but I also don't know exactly how viable Nick is, having him and already trying to work with him myself. Mm-hmm. So I think the chases, as you said, Greeter Gluttony, are very good for what they do, so I'm looking at that. I think Wrath is also pretty decent at 117 points, or 125 when you add his relic.
Clever bastards.
Clever bastards. Rares, I really don't see anything going crazy unless people are going to be like Dead Man and Resurrection Man. Like,
I've made so many jokes about that combination, and just I want to see somebody just look at that and go, "You're a jerk."
Yeah, right. Then there's Freddie Freeman, who I think is a little nuts, but at 112 points, he's kind of just like one of your characters. A lot of the teams I've built, I don't feel like he bothers me at all compared to what characters we already have in the meta that actually do scare me. So are you going to waste 112 points on Freddie, or are you just going to play a Kyle Ringer? Or you going to play 112 points on Freddie, or are you just going to play like an actual like serious tank? Maybe they'll have if they come up with another bruiser around his points, then yes, that team sparks flying. I just feel like he doesn't have a partner that's really complementing him to really make a splash in the meta for a top 8 team. I could be totally wrong. Maybe George Masu, because he loves Shazam, is going to totally show me off this year. But
this weekend even.
This weekend maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's coming.
He's definitely been making a lot of noise about coming. He says he's going to be there. So I'm hoping to actually, even if I don't get to meet him in the tournament, maybe actually get a game on film with him, just for the channel.
Be great.
Yeah, I'd like to meet the dude.
Yeah, maybe play like a fun game with him and just get everybody around us making noise.
Woo!
Look at him roll the dice!
The dice, they've been rolled 2 6s. No way!
All right.
Terrible.
Yeah. That's all we got this week. So Wednesday, for those of you in the Greater Toronto area, your last chance to get free entry into Windsor is at the Wizards Cache at 333 Bloor Street West in Toronto. That'll be Wednesday at 6:30. For those of you not familiar with where the location is, it's actually under a bookstore. At first glance, you won't see it. You walk into the bookstore at 333 and go down the stairs, and that is going to be where the Wizard Cache is.
It's called Willow Books, and there will be some signage, but if the weather's bad, who knows where that signage will be.
Yeah, absolutely. As well, for those of you who will be there on Saturday at the Eastern Canada Super Qualifier in Windsor, Ontario, at the Ambassador Golf Club, and I keep forgetting the address, but at the Ambassador Golf Club in Windsor, you can probably Google Maps it, it'll show right up. They're going to be having the Super Qualifier, one of the last bastion of no tactics for this month is the last month of no tactics in the ROC, and then next month we start moving into Tactics Zone, which will be the primary focus of our conversation. So we'll be seeing you guys. Look for us. We'll be wearing our new Mike Show 'em, our new Metal Lab T-shirt.
Oh, yeah.
So look for us. We'll be the guys wearing these wacky-looking shirts. And yeah. Oh, and there's the back. That's if you're looking at us from behind. Pull the knife out before you greet us, all right? And we hope to see you guys all next week. Don't forget, Married with Clicks is going to have no content this week until maybe we're going to see you guys next Monday when we're actually talking about how we did at the ROC. Have a good week, folks, and thank you for joining us.